Welcome to In Her Own Name, where women stop whispering their greatness and tell the power of their own stories, with your host, Lillian Ogbogoh. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of In Her Own Name. Now, today, listen, let's start from the very beginning. If you are brand new here, this podcast serves women. It helps women to stop whispering their brilliance and reclaim their space, their voice, and their legacy. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Lillian Ogbogoh, and today's guest is a powerhouse of a woman. Oh my God, she is in the business and human development space in Nigeria, and not just Nigeria, across parts of Africa. Now, she is known as Modupe Adeniji, but known to many as Dupe. She is the founder and managing director of TEM Nigeria, one of the country's leading human capacity development and training firms. Now, I can list all her backgrounds, but let's start with this. She has a background in law, and her passion for empowering individuals and organization is reshaping what it means to unlock potential. And her company serves some of the biggest names across Nigeria now. If you all know, you know, you've heard the name Dangote before. If you haven't, where have you been? Under a rock? He probably built that rock with his cement. So I'm just saying. To NMPC, Lagos State, to Coronation Bank. But behind all of those names, all of those companies, stands one singular truth. Modupe is committed to building people intentionally, skillfully, and sustainably. And trust me, for her to depart from law to actually go down this journey, if you know Nigerian parents, you know that this is something that is a lifelong commitment and a calling. So join me and welcome my incredible guest, Modupe Adeniji. Hi,
Hi, everyone.
how are
Thank you for
you?
having me. I'm
Ah, you
very
are
well.
so
Thank
welcome.
you.
You are so welcome. You're so welcome. I have given a brief into your background, and we say you started with a law degree and then you've built this human capacity development business. Here's the thing. What made you say, law, bye bye, I can't do this. This is where I need to be? What made that shift for you?
Okay, that is a very good question, and I get that question a lot. And for me, I just had to give credit to my mom. She's late now, and she was very particular about education. And I remember her always saying, any educated person can never suffer. You can never go hungry if you're educated. And once you're willing to be committed to improving yourself, the sky is the limit. So
Mm.
that is how it started for me. And I remember when I was in the university, just before I started law school, and we were just having a conversation on a day like this, some evening, and we started to talk about what gap was there. What is it that we can do or add to the system to help improve people? And that is where it started. Well, that's where the whole idea of going into capacity development started from. She had a school when she was alive, and like I said, she was very particular about education. And that's just where the story began.
That is a beautiful story, and I love that it's your mother's influence. And there's something about that, and being that your mother was an educator herself. So I'm not surprised that you follow this road. And so you talk about human capacity development. And for those who are thinking, okay, when we strip that back, what is that? It's developing individuals to be their very best. In a recent interview, you spoke about Nigerian certificate over competence culture. And I laughed about that because I'm like, oh, this is going to be a good one. What's the one moment or story that made that issue deeply real for you?
Since I started this business, I realized over the years, 'cause sometimes we recruit for agents, for companies, and then I've had to interview a whole lot of people. And we
Hmm.
have so many people who have this certificate. They're really good on paper. But when it gets to the real work and the real crux of things, they are not able to do half of the things they have on the certificate, on their resume. So I
Right.
realized that Nigerians tend to want to spend so much money to get themselves through school to get that certificate, not focusing on the education. So you have a fresh graduate from university who is not able to use Microsoft Word. who cannot sit for an interview and sell themselves. Like I tell
Right.
people, you don't necessarily have to have a long resume to be able to sell yourself, even
Of
though you're a
course.
fresh out of school. If fresh graduate, like I tell people, you can tell me about yourself being the first daughter in your family, and it tells me you must be a responsible person because for you to be the first daughter, you most likely have siblings that you're responsible for. You're like the second mommy. So it tells me that you're able to be responsible if I was to put you in charge of a group of people or in a team.
Right.
Telling me how in an interview how you had to wait for 9 o'clock and you decided to leave your house as early as 7 to be able to meet up the time tells me time management. So that the little things that I look out for that you cannot get on in school that is beyond your certificates, your
Right.
people skill, your teamwork ability, emotional intelligence. All those things are things that are very vital for you in the corporate space. And even
I absolutely agree with you. We definitely, there is that thing where, and I'm saying this, I'm calling myself out as a Nigerian. Everyone knows that we have been programmed, it's our educational system. We have been programmed, you must get that pass. How you do it, sometimes nobody really cares. You must have that
so,
that tick on the box that says you have this degree, that master's, that PhD. And sometimes you gather these things and they end up like expensive paperweight. If you
exactly.
cannot actually use those things, if you cannot actually speak to those things, if you cannot actually, then it's wasted.
It is. Indeed, it is. And
And so,
you're very correct. And that's one of the things I focus on.
with your business, with the work that you've done over the last few years, if you could look and go, let me redesign the way we prepare young people for the workforce. What curriculum, skills, mindset, what would that look like for you if you could say, I can go back and redesign the educational system and how we prepare people for the workforce? What would you put in place?
That is a very good question. I love that question. And I think, like I've read and I've said many times, that we need the employers to sit at the same table with academia. Let the employers tell the schools what they're looking for. I, as an employer of labor, I don't necessarily need a first class student. I want a team player. I want a self-starter. I need somebody who's independent, who thinks on their own. I need a problem solver. Do you understand what I mean? I need someone who can take responsibility for whatever tasks they've been given. Yes, going to school is very important, but these soft skills are things that are missing. So we have the technical bits that we learn in school, and the part that makes that technical knowledge a commodity, a sellable product in
Mm-hmm.
the individuals is what is
Right.
lacking, if you ask me.
I
So
and I
that is
don't
why you
think that,
have first class students who can sell themselves at an interview.
but that is in itself is actually true. And funny enough, I don't think that is just a Nigeria or African problem because it also exists on this side of the world as well, where where those skills are not being able to being you can't translate it. So, and here's the thing that, and for those who don't know, I actually went to school in Nigeria and I went to a military school. And I look back at our
Hmm.
educational system. And one of the things that I find that the educational system of Nigeria, and I don't know if it's changed since I went to school, I'm not going to age myself on my own show, I'm not doing that today, is that the educational system does not prepare students to think. It doesn't prepare students to think. It prepares most students to regurgitate information. It doesn't allow for resilience to be learned. It doesn't allow for the things that you call for. We don't learn that in schools because remember, education or going through that whole educational road is you're supposed to be okay to make mistakes. But I remember
Right?
going to school where if a teacher will call you up to the board, ask you to do a math problem or solve a problem, you give an answer which may be incorrect, and you get either punished or ridiculed. So,
Mm.
which means it is unsafe for you to be wrong. So therefore, you just regurgitate whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. We don't create a safe ground in education for children to actually own their own knowledge, for them to be curious, for them to break the rules and say, well, I know you say 2 + 2 = 4, but what if it doesn't? What happens? It's not safe. Growing up for me, that was not a safe space for doing that. Our educational system does not breed curiosity. Has that changed?
Now, I have to give it to the educational system in Nigeria today. It has changed. It's not
Good.
as it was in our time. So there is that difference. You see that they give a lot of credit for effort, even when you're wrong. There's credit for effort in schools now.
Good.
There's a lot of teamwork. So they do projects where they do work together, which encourages
Nice.
teamwork. They do a lot of presentations now in schools, which encourages self-confidence and being able to work on your public speaking skills. So I must say, and I must give it to the schools these days, that it's not like as it was I'll say 20 years ago. It definitely has improved.
And
But
that
of
is a
course, there's room
brilliant
for
thing.
improvement, but definitely it has improved. It has improved, yes.
And that's a brilliant thing because that way you can then guarantee that the children that are going to pass out of those secondary schools going to university, they already have those skills embedded. So maybe in a few years' time, TEM will be saying, we have the skilled people who have the certification, but also know how to apply that.
Mm.
Yeah.
We hope to get to that point soon.
Yes. Now, looking at your client list is packed with some major players. But what do you believe TEM Nigeria brings that the traditional consultancy firms often miss?
So for me, I would say it's attention to detail.
Right.
I try as much as possible to listen. So for example, we have a training session. I don't just focus on us delivering the trainings. I focus on the questions that are asked during those trainings to help build up on what you're learning
Yeah.
and what we will be missing. So
Right.
at the end of our trainings, I go back to our client and say, yes, we've delivered this training, but we've noticed that for this training to be effective or to be more robust, I think we are missing this and that. And can we please include it in our next or future trainings? So that you're not just teaching somebody, for example, you're doing a training on, say, I'll say corporate etiquette, for example,
Mm-hmm.
because we do a bit of that. But in the corporate etiquette training, things like communicative, writing skills, effective communication is something that is not part of corporate etiquette training, but
Right.
it's something you would notice if somebody lacked that knowledge in the training. So what we try to do is we still deliver our trainings that we've been requested to deliver, but we look at the gaps that may be making the training that we have delivered not as effective. So that is what I focus on. So that's why I say
Okay.
attention to details.
I like that. And with that attention to details, how do you balance the innovation your clients need with the structure they often resist? So, has there been a moment where you had to challenge the way things have always been done? Like, oh no, this is how we do it here.
So yes, that happens a lot. But unfortunately, you have some clients who are willing to listen. And because they're looking to improve on their human capacity, they listen and we're able to work together
Right.
as from an external point of view to deliver what is required of us. It depends on who's sitting in the chair to help to make sure that what it is you're preferring is taking on. So sometimes you get that pushback where they tell you, we know what we're doing. You can't come in and tell us what it is we're going to do. We have such instances. But sometimes it takes a bit of time for you to explain and let them see things from your perspective, from an outsider's perspective, and
Right.
things get done the way they should be.
Okay. And that's good. And I'm glad that you've had those, you're able to push back on them. And looking at the work, and I keep having to refer back to the work because you have worked across sectors, you've scaled a business in male-dominated industry. What has leading as a woman, especially in Nigeria, taught you about power and presence?
know your onions, knowing what you're doing,
Mm.
making sure you bring value.
Mm-hmm.
I was asked this question a few weeks ago, and somebody was telling me that it's a struggle being a woman, a business owner as a woman. And I said, I do not let my clients see a woman. I let them see somebody who's bringing value.
Okay.
I know it could be difficult in certain instances, but once you're able to bring value to the table, once you're able to show that you can solve a problem, once you're able to show that you can improve their bottom line, because that's what every company is about, improving their
Yeah.
bottom line. If you're able to let them see that what you're bringing to the table would improve their bottom line, then they start to listen, and the rest is history.
Okay. That's that. I like that phrase of know your onions and bringing that value to the table. And hopefully that is something that cuts across for most business owners in Nigeria, not just for women, because anybody who is a business owner or anybody who is, even those who are in employed roles, you need to be able to bring that value to the table. When you look at the work that you do, when you look at your path, when you think, this is who I am, I want to ask the question about what does legacy mean to you, not just as Modupe, the businesswoman, but as a builder of people, what does that mean for you?
I just want to know that I've changed life and impacted,
Mm.
and not just coming through a room and leave, but to come
Right.
into a room where people will remember and say, this, because of her, I'm here now. Because of her, because of what she said on so and so day, it changed my perspective to either my business or my career. And because of that, I'm where I am today. You know,
Okay.
everybody has some part they play in everybody's lives, whether
Mm.
we do it consciously or not. But I want to be deliberate about how people take my words when it comes to their businesses or their careers, and how they can translate it to what they're delivering.
That is an absolute beautiful answer.
Thank you.
So here's a question. What have you had to unlearn to truly lead as your fullest, most authentic self?
Patience. I was very impatient at the beginning of my career. I've learned to explain and let people see my why.
Right.
That is something that I think I have had to unlearn. And I have seen tremendous results from that, helping people see my perspective and helping them see how it can
Mm.
change it. It is positive for them. So yeah, letting people
Okay.
see my why.
And that's a good thing. I can see how that will actually impact. And especially if you have someone who's new to the workforce, you have somebody who is in the room and feeling like already out of place, and you explain the why to them, they kind of get it, they understand, and it makes it easier.
Something funny happened today. Let me, bring it back to that. It's one of my staff came to me and asked for an increase. And I said, you're an amazing girl. I see you working hard. And I see you working hard in the terms of you've been asked to do this and you do this. You're asked to do A, you do A. You're asked to do B, you do B. Why don't you try to do maybe B after you've been asked to do A?
Mm.
Take ownership.
Right.
Things make yourself an entrepreneur in this your space, and see what ripple effects in terms of your remuneration. So
Mm.
yes, you're doing what you've been asked to do. But yes, it's not yet time for that.
Okay.
That the review of your pay. But there's nothing wrong in reviewing it even before it's due. If you're able to show that you are bringing more than what you've been asked to bring to the table.
Right.
And we had a really good conversation, and she saw what I was trying to explain to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping, I wonder if she'll see this podcast, but I'm hoping to see better results. But she's a good worker. But what I have learned from what I've seen of her is she does A, and that is it.
Right.
What makes a star star? the one who does the extra.
Yes. Who goes that extra mile? All right.
Yes, it
So
goes to
here in this show, there is something that we always talk about. We talk about reclaiming our voice, our visibility, especially in systems that were never designed for us. And I think for you, you're in a whole different system. You're in a system that is designed for you. I want you to kind of think about a moment where you truly had to step into your own name, where you didn't shrink, where you chose to lead from a place of your own bold truth. Actually, let me go back again, because when I talk about systems, I realize, yes, even though you're in Nigeria, there's a whole different systems within the systems. And I want you to really think about that time you had to step into your full own name. You did not shrink and chose to lead from that bold place of your personal truth.
Okay, so we've had oh, let me see. There was a time we had this client, and I could tell what they needed,
Right.
but they were insisting on going a step or two beyond what it is they needed. The foundation needed to be worked on in terms
Right.
of putting the round pegs in round holes, setting up a proper structure before you start training somebody who has zero knowledge in the technical space in and putting somebody who is an arts person and putting them in a technical space.
Right.
So we insisted that you cannot put somebody who doesn't have the foundation for this role in this space. And if you must put them in that space, we need to equip them for them to be able to deliver. Sentiments have to be set aside.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to focus on what it is the person is capable of before you put them in a role that they're going to struggle in, which at the end of the day will make them look inefficient, will help make them look like they're not qualified or not able to deliver on their role. So, for example, you put someone who is a back office person and you would expect them to be a salesperson. How is that
Yeah.
possible? If you must work with that person on that role, you have to equip them with the knowledge and the skills to help them sell.
Absolutely.
So at that time, I had to insist that we do not just train the wrong people for the wrong roles. We needed to arrange things and set the structure so that we all align, they all align and be and able to deliver on their roles.
How did that go down?
Eventually, it was a struggle, but we eventually came to an agreement because I insisted you cannot put a person in a role because of sentiments or because you think they're related to you and you trust them. If I have zero knowledge in accounting, I'm not going to put someone who is an engineer or whatever
Yeah.
because I think they're close to me and I want to make sure they own at the helm of the finances of my business. So yes.
That must have been interesting.
Yes, it
What are
was.
you? Sorry, go back again.
I say yes, it was interesting. It was a struggle, but we got work done.
And I can actually tell that you are a formidable soul, so I'm sure that they had no other choice but to agree.
Well, we tried eventually.
What are you learning right now about yourself, your industry, or the future of your work?
What I'm learning right now is we need to work on employability skills. We need to do a lot of work when it comes to fresh graduates.
Mm.
I'm learning that a lot of them graduate from school and are not employable.
Wow.
Learning that we need to help them before we have about 600,000 students or so, I think, if I remember correctly, who graduate from university in Nigeria every year. What percentage of them are employable? Very little. So we need to work on that. And I'm learning that it is so the educational system in Nigeria has some holes that need to be fixed.
Mm.
And that's something I'm learning and hoping I can help with fixing in my own little way.
And then that's an amazing thing. And the way that you do fix it is that you, from TEM Nigeria, you have a project that you deliver training
Yes,
to the youths who have just finished their university, who've
that's true.
gone through their youth corps, and you deliver
Yes,
training to them on a pro bono basis. Tell
yes,
us about that project.
unfortunately.
Tell us about that project.
Okay, when I said over the course of my career of this business, I realized that a lot of fresh graduates are struggling to gain employment because they're not employable. And you do not blame them because these skills were not taught to them, or for whatever reason, the sort of school they graduated from lacks the capability of giving them those, training them on those skills. So
Right.
I then decided on my own to work with NYSD and see how we can train a number of them on a yearly basis to help them gain employment, because otherwise they would just be left unemployed.
Right.
And with this, we started about 3, 4 years ago. It's been good. It's been challenging, but we've been doing our bits.
That's an amazing thing. And I think that is part of giving back, and that's part of the support. And more should be done, because when you said 600,000 students are fresh graduates and a very small percentage of them are employable, that is actually scary for the country and for their future and for the future of the country.
Right. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I want you to look at your journey so far. What would you whisper or shout to your 18-year-old self?
What would I whisper and shout to my 10-year-old self? I would say it is going to be a struggle, but be patient. Because when you're 18, you think the world is your oyster and everything is easy, you're going to have it all.
Of course.
And as you grow, you find that there are challenges that are going to be difficult for you to overcome,
Mm,
but you will overcome them
yes.
as long as you are determined, you are focused, and you will get it done, and you're willing to get it done. As long as you're not going to cheat, you steal, or do anything crooked, you get by.
I think those are good truths to have, and that's a good message to share. And I don't think it applies just to your 18-year-old self. I think even to the selves that we are today, that is a good message to actually have in our back pockets. We will
Right.
be okay.
Mm,
The challenges will be there, but we will be okay. I
yeah.
think that's the message that I took from that, especially the other pieces. As long as you're not doing the other wrong things, you'll be okay.
Yes, you will be able. Just keep at it.
Exactly. Now, I would like for you to give me two truths or a tool that help women lead as their most authentic, unapologetic selves. And especially, I want you to look at it from being a woman in business in Nigeria right now.
There's so many, it's just there just so many faces and facets of it. I don't think I can, well, I'll say two truths. Mm, Keep at it.
Okay.
Just keep at it. There are going to be days where nothing will happen. There might be
Hmm.
months, nothing will happen. You could go for almost a year. I remember during COVID, training was one of the first things most companies took out of their budgets.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that I didn't have one single business in 2020. We didn't start rolling out business. I was training again till like the end of 2021.
Wow.
So just keep at it. It will happen. Things will fall in place, but it will happen. As long as you stick to what it is you know how to do, it will
Okay.
happen. I've had days who people that I thought would give me work would not take my calls. But it will happen eventually.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that. And then to close out, what's bringing you joy lately, even if it's something small or unexpected?
Well, what brings me joy is when I get the feedback about our trainings and you see people come to you maybe a month after the training and they tell you how because of the training they got promoted because of maybe or a session they had with you. It improves their work ethics. It's just those feedback you get from the training sessions that just gives me so much joy. It gives me a lot of joy, and it's all worth everything, all the stress, the time you had to waiting rooms till maybe 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock for a meeting just to get that training contract or what have you. Those times when you get those calls or messages means everything to me.
I like that. That is absolutely beautiful. For a woman that your path is about changing the lives of others, creating an impact, and actually building capacity and education in others. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. People, you need to discover her. Go take a look. I'll put her details in the show notes so that you can find her, connect with her. And if you are thinking, well, I don't do anything in that region, think about this. If you have the skills, especially skills that training skills, business skills, that you can actually give back some of those skills to help make sure those 600,000 fresh graduates are skilled up to reach out to Modupe and have a conversation. You never know what could spark, because the skills we take for granted are the skills that those young graduates need. So reach
Yes,
out. We're talking from AI to tech to you never know. So let's reach out and let's have that and build that conversation further. Thank you so
thank you.
much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to In Her Own Name. Step into your week, lit up, aligned, and fully you. If you are enjoying this podcast, share it with your people. Don't let them miss out. And connect with us on all places social.